Okay, so welcome back to, again, I haven't decided on a name. Let's play, in this case, Star Wars The Old Republic. I'm going to have a swig of my beer now. So, first choice is first. Unlike, especially WoW, with WoW you see all of your options straight on that character creation screen. Here we have what is ultimately our faction in WoW terms. It looks like it's allegiance in Star Wars. So, for me, I'm not a big Star Wars buff. I grew up. I was a little bit too young for Star Wars Episode 4. I was 2 at the time. But the following 2 episodes were kind of my heyday for science fiction and kids movies. So I'm gonna pick the Galactic Republic. The supposed good guys. I think for people who've grown up a little bit younger than myself, they've grown up with the first 3 episodes. Probably, I would imagine, will be more focused upon the Sith because that side of the story focused a little bit more on the Sith. These are supposedly the good and the bad, the Horde and the Alliance. The Horde and the Alliance, rather. So, I am going to cut out all cutscenes here because I've previously had issues with copyright claims on cutscenes, and I don't even get into that mess. My account is in good standing at the minute, so we don't need that. I'm sure I will probably put links into cutscenes because they will exist elsewhere on YouTube. Let's have a look at the advanced classes. So this gives us a bit more information about each class. Jedi Guardian, selected level 10. We can pick a subclass by the looks of it. So we got Jedi Guardian, Jedi Sentinel. Wow, this is going to take us a little bit of while to go through each of these, but I think it's quite interesting. So Jedi Guardian, which is a subclass of the Jedi Knight, war between the good people of the Republic and their enemies. The Guardian stands firm in the face of overwhelming odds and dares opponents to attack. So here, this is interesting. It's actually specifying the kind of roles you would be doing here. So we've got tank damage. That's interesting. So the Jedi Sentinel, control and focus are the hallmarks of the Sentinel. Through years of training, the Sentinel learns the art of using 2 lightsabers simultaneously to create an intricate web of damage that is almost impossible to evade. So I like this almost. I think this is probably a word that was added in at the last minute when people were getting a little bit worried about how maybe potentially unbalanced the class might be. So this is a damage roll, 2 lightsabers. So that's interesting. So this is sounding a little bit like kind of like the warrior, or maybe even DK class in WoW. So we can pick to tank plus damage or just damage. So that's interesting. So back onto the Jedi Consular. So we can pick between the Jedi Sage and the Jedi Shadow. Sages are famed for their wisdom as such, and as much for their powerful healing and defensive skills in troubled times. A sage brings together the insight of the past with raw power to change the flow of galactic events. Healing and damage. Is that kind of like a Disco Priest in WoW? I mean, in 4.x there's kind of different styles of Shadow Priest in WoW, so maybe a bit like that. And then we've got the Jedi Shadow, wielding dual-wielded lightsabers. Shadows embrace the synergy between melee and force combat, enabling them to strike down enemies with the order of the Order with deadly efficiency. Tank and damage, so that's very interesting. I was expecting this, especially with the name, to be kind of equivalent to like a Shadow Priest. The whole class being the Consular class to be more like the Priest. But here we're seeing the class role is tank and damage. So that's interesting. That's, to me, that's sounding good. This is something we don't have in WoW as such. Smuggler. We have a gunslinger at level 10, master of the trick shot and willing to take advantage of every opportunity. The gunslinger learns how to fire 2 blasters at once, specialising in long range combat. So we're looking at kind of like a ranger, hunter minus pet kind of like spec there. And then we have a scoundrel. In addition to the trusty blaster, scoundrels pack a stealth belt, a scattergun and a med pack. Everything they need to get in, knock the enemy for a loop and get out alive. So we've got a healing and damage class with kind of like range and close quarter combat. So yeah, that's interesting. Again, there's some interesting combos here. We don't have anything like that in WoW. I mean, we've got healers and damage classes, but nothing ranged and close combat. So that's something interesting. And then at the trooper class, we have commando, trained in advanced assault tactics and weaponry. Commandos charge into battle with massive assault cannons, overwhelming their enemies with brute firepower. Again, heal and damage. From that description, I wouldn't have picked up anything to do with healing at all, but you know, the whole massive assault cannons doesn't sound to me like it has anything to do with healing. And then we have the Vanguard, unstoppable and utterly fearless. Vanguards are the first and best line of the defense of the Republic military. Tank and damage. So that's good. So there you go. We've looked at one side of it, and let's look at this from somebody who's never played an MMO before, and let's be honest. I think this game is probably trying to appeal to people who, for a number of reasons, wouldn't have tried an MMO before. So Star Wars specifically hasn't had. Well, I mean, there's been an MMO before, but I mean, it's kind of old school, and I think it more appealed to an older generation of gamers who grew up with kind of Ultimate Online and EverQuest vintage of MMOs, and that doesn't really include me, because although I've played Ultimate Online, I was only there for a brief period of time. Now, having said that, I think the art style, you look at kind of like everything in this game so far, and what I've seen of the game, isn't aimed at kind of like that old school Star Wars brand of let's be honest, mid-30s gamer. This is aimed, I think, at the younger generation who've come to Star Wars through the second 3 films, and more recently the cartoons and the CG. Now, those guys probably aren't massively familiar with the whole concept of the MMO archetype, the healer, damage and tank. So they don't really explain what these are. What are they? I mean, damage and healing may speak for itself, but what does tank mean? It doesn't explain that particularly well. So that's my first point of concern. Let's have a look at the advanced classes here. So we've got Sith Warrior, entrusted with the task of destroying the Empire's enemies, and dual-wielding Marauder embodies the teachings of Naga Shadow. Never hesitating, never faltering, there is no swifter bringer of pain in the galaxy. I don't know, with that haircut, can you really be a bringer of pain? A stalwart defender of the Sith Empire, the Juggernaut embodies the teachings of Marka Ragnos, charging into enemies with heavy armor and pure rage. I mean, there's a lot more in both of these descriptions. There's a bit more about, I think, the backstory than we had with the other faction. And at this point, it's irrelevant. I don't really care about all that shit. All I want to know about is their fighting style, not this. What the fuck? What the fuck is Teachings of Naga Shadow? Irrelevant. A Sith sorcerer. The Sith sorcerer draws energy from the forbidden depths of the Force. And well, surely the Sith is purely the forbidden depths of the Force, mastering techniques that sap and drain enemies as they invigorate allies, or simply wreak utter devastation. A healer and damage class. Sith assassin. Assassins leap from the shadows, channeling force lightning through their double-bladed lightsabers. I don't know, how would you double blade a lightsaber, seeing as it's not actually a blade? To disable and drain their enemies, they are masters of subterfuge, feared by even the most terrible opponents. Well, funny feeling I'm going to be a terrible opponent, so we'll be fearing those guys. Bounty Hunter. We have a power tech, level 10. The best in shielding, defensive tactics on high-powered flamethrowers, combined to make the power tech an impenetrable one-man blockade, getting up close and personal to take down enemies of all sizes, tank and damage. I've been logged out now. Idling a little bit too much there, by the looks of it. Let's pick another. We're going to go PvE on this. So let's pick another PvE server. We're looking at advanced classes, and we're looking at bounty hunters. So we've got mercenaries, a pair of blasters, deadly heat-seeking missiles, and heavy armor make the mercenary a mobile weapons platform. There's no problem extra firepower can't solve, and no one with a sense gets between a mercenary and their target. That haircut, I think, is also quite dangerous, so don't be messing. An operative. So this is the Imperial agent class at level 10. Whether ambushing enemies from stealth or using advanced medical technology to keep colleagues in the fight. Wow, my reading has become really bad. The operative will do whatever it takes to advance the agenda of the Empire. And last, I was going to say but not least, but probably, seeing it's only fulfilling one role, the sniper, identified as the most elite sharpshooters in the galaxy. Snipers use their extensive training to eliminate sensitive targets and turn the tide of the battle in the Empire's favour. So that's, I like that. It looks like each class can do multiple things. I mean, let's go through them quickly. I'm not seeing a pure class anywhere. Advanced classes. Yeah, so yeah, there are no pure classes. In WoW we have a number of pure classes. We've got the mage, the warlock, the rogue, the hunter. I think that's it. They're pure classes. They purely focus on DPS and nothing else. In Rift we don't have that concept really so much. I mean, even what you would consider a pure DPS class can spec into tanking and healing if necessary, or even both, and be as equally ineffective at both. So this is sounding good, I think, because WoW, I play a pure DPS class in WoW, and let's be honest, it can get a bit boring. It'd be nice to be able to pick up tanking, and you know. Right, so let's call that video there. There's been a whole shitload of rambling about stuff I don't really know what I'm talking about. So in the next episode, I think we'll actually pick a class and actually play the game. or maybe we'll just fuck about with character customization. But anyway, we're going to go a bit further, so I'll see you next time.